Have you ever entered a room and felt like someone had just left it, though no one was ever there? Or awoken from a dream that felt more like a visit than a fantasy? These are not just flickers of the imagination. They are whispers through the veil, the kind that reach us when we least expect them, and often when we need them the most. Grief has a way of making the world feel quieter, emptier. When someone we love dies, it's not just their absence we feel. It's the absence of who we are when we're with them, as if part of our identity dissolves with them. This is not something that can be explained away. It's something we live inside of. According to grief expert Dr. J. William Worden, maintaining a connection with those who have passed is not pathological or unhealthy. In fact, he identified continuing bonds as a vital and natural aspect of the grieving process. Grief Counseling and Grief Therapy, 2009. Holding onto that connection, through memory, dreams, sensations, or even subtle signs, is often what allows us to heal. I know this not only because of research or spiritual theory, but because I lived it. After my mother passed away, I thought the silence in the house would be unbearable, but what I wasn't prepared for was the moments when it wasn't silent, when I would feel a brush on my arm as I stood still in the kitchen, when the light would flicker in her old room during the hour she used to pray, when I woke one night with tears on my cheeks after dreaming of her, but the dream felt more like we sat down and had tea. At first I questioned my sanity, but over time the experiences came not with fear, but with peace, comfort, familiarity. They began to feel like small visits. No, not proofs. Just gentle reminders that love doesn't end. That presence can take on new forms, and I've come to learn I'm not alone in this. Studies by Dr. Callum Cooper at the University of Northampton show that over 50% of bereaved individuals report at least one experience of after-death communication, ADC. These aren't necessarily visions or voices. They are often ordinary yet profound moments. A sudden fragrance, a meaningful dream, a whisper of touch, or an unexpected animal encounter that feels just a little too precise. These experiences, Cooper notes, are not delusions, but naturally occurring and often healing parts of the grief journey. And so, I invite you not to believe, but to listen. Not with your ears, but with your heart. Because if love is as powerful as we say it is, why would it stop at the grave? Let's begin where so many signs begin. The body. The first place our loved ones seem to reach us is through sensation, through skin and memory. A sudden warmth wrapping around your shoulders. A gentle nudge when no one's there. A stillness that feels shared. This is where we'll start. With the signs your body may already know, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. I'll never forget the first time it happened. It had been 3 weeks since my mother passed. I was in the kitchen late at night, folding a dish towel, something she used to do with this quiet grace that made the whole house feel held together. Suddenly I felt something. Not fear, not cold. Just a soft brush across my back, as if someone had laid a hand gently on my shoulder and then let it go. I turned around, no one, no wind, no sound. But I stood there frozen, breath caught, in my chest, eyes stinging, not from fear but recognition. I didn't need anyone to confirm it for me. I just knew she had been there, even for a second. Sign 1. Unexpected physical sensations. Many who grieve report feeling their loved one's presence through subtle physical cues. A light touch, a shift in air pressure, a breeze indoors with windows closed, or even a wave of warmth or cold that arrives out of nowhere. These aren't hallucinations. According to bereavement researchers Strobe and Schutt, these experiences often align with heightened emotional moments, particularly during the acute grief phase. They describe them as continuing sensory bonds, where the physical body retains patterns of comfort and touch linked to the deceased. Think of the body as a tuning fork. Grief may dull the notes of daily life, but when memory strikes just right, your body still vibrates to the song of someone you loved. That touch, real or not in a material sense, becomes a message. Sometimes, we are not imagining it. We are remembering it. And in remembering, we make space for connection. Sign 2. Visitation. Dreams. A week after that kitchen moment, I had a dream. My mother and I were sitting on her garden bench sipping tea. She looked well, brighter even. She told me not to worry about the decisions I was struggling with. "It'll turn out better than you think," she smiled. Then I woke up, with tears rolling down my cheeks and the smell of her lavender lotion still clinging to the air. These are not ordinary dreams. Researchers call them visitation dreams, and they differ significantly from typical REM cycles. Dr. Joshua Black, founder of the Grief Dreams Research Project, has interviewed hundreds of people globally who describe these dreams as clear, vivid, emotionally resonant, and often transformational. According to his findings, people often wake from these dreams with a sense of peace, resolution, or even guidance. Dr. Black states, "These dreams provide a place where the bereaved feel reunited. Whether seen as psychological or spiritual, their healing power is undeniable. If you've ever had a dream that didn't feel like a dream, but more like a reunion, maybe it wasn't about sleep. Maybe it was about connection." Sign 3. Symbolic. Coincidences. The day after that dream, I walked outside to get the mail and saw a small white feather lying perfectly centered on my front step. It hadn't been there the night before. I don't live near any birds that shed like that. I picked it up and immediately remembered something I'd forgotten for years. When I was a child, my mother used to say, "When you see a white feather, it means an angel is near." Sometimes love leaves breadcrumbs. These symbolic signs can take many forms. Finding a coin dated with your loved one's birth year, hearing a song they loved at just the right moment, seeing a bird, butterfly, or flower that always reminded you of them over and over again, just when you needed comfort. Psychiatrist Dr. Bernard Beitman, a leading researcher in coincidences, refers to these as meaningful synchronicities, patterns that defy probability and seem tailored to emotional need. They might not convince a skeptic, but they don't have to. They weren't sent for skeptics. They were sent for you. The body as a messenger of love. What ties these three signs together, touch, dream, symbol, is that they all happen through the medium of the body, through the skin, through sleep, through sight and sound. They arrive not as loud declarations but as intimate echoes, the kind you only hear when you're still enough, soft enough, grieving enough to listen. The body remembers the ones we love. It remembers the way they held us, the way they spoke to us, the energy they carried. Even in their absence, it listens for their return. Sometimes love doesn't knock on the door. Sometimes it simply stands behind you in silence, waiting for you to feel it. It happened on a Sunday morning. I was sitting in my mother's old bedroom trying to decide whether to donate the scarf drawer, one filled with decades of her favorite silk and lavender-scented memories. As I sat on the edge of her bed, tears in my throat, the air around me changed. Not cooler, not warmer, just filled with her perfume. That specific floral lavender blend she always wore. No one had sprayed anything. The windows were shut. The scent lasted no more than 10 seconds, but it filled the entire room and then disappeared. It wasn't in my mind. It was in the air, and in that moment, so was she. Sign 4. Familiar. Scent smell is the sense most deeply connected to memory and emotion. That's not just poetic, it's scientific. The olfactory bulb in the brain links directly to the amygdala and hippocampus, areas responsible for emotional memory. This is one reason why familiar scents can bring back vivid recollections, and sometimes even more than that. In his groundbreaking research on after-death communication, ADC, Dr. Callum Cooper of the ITI, University of Northampton found that smell-related encounters are among the most frequently reported signs during grief. People often describe moments where they smelled a loved one's favorite perfume, tobacco, baking aroma, or even body scent, without any physical source. These experiences appear suddenly, Often in private moments, our emotionally intense dissipate quickly, leaving a lingering sense of presence. Dr. Cooper emphasizes that these olfactory ADCs are not hallucinations, but common, spontaneous grief-related experiences reported across cultures, age groups, and belief systems. In short, if you've ever smelled the presence of someone you love, after they're gone, you're not alone, and you're not imagining it. Sign 5, electrical phenomena. 1 week later, something else happened. I walked past the hallway where my mom used to keep a prayer candle lit every morning. The light bulb above it flickered, twice. I paused. Then it turned off completely. I flipped the switch. Nothing. 5 minutes later, it turned on by itself. Electrical malfunctions? Maybe. But this happened again and again, every time I thought about her, or stood in that spot during sunrise when she would pray. Once is a glitch, but when the heart aligns and the lights flicker, that's no longer a coincidence, it becomes communication. In their now famous research at the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research (PEER) lab, scientists discovered that human consciousness appears capable of subtly influencing machines and electronic systems, including random event generators. If consciousness can influence energy in life, might it still do so after? Dr. Cooper's ADC studies also include cases of clocks stopping at the moment of death, radios turning on during moments of longing, flickering lights, drained batteries, or phone anomalies linked to specific emotional triggers. These aren't horror stories. They're love stories, and sometimes love uses electricity. Sign 6, wildlife encounters. 2 days after that hallway light flicker, I sat on the back porch. It was unusually still. Then, a cardinal flew down, red, vibrant, and bold, and perched on the railing no more than 2 feet from me. It didn't fly away. It just stared. That bird visited me every day for 2 weeks. Some might say coincidence. But this cardinal showed up every time I cried. Every time I asked out loud, "Mom, are you still with me?" The answer came in feathers. Across many indigenous traditions, animals are seen not merely as creatures of nature, but as messengers of the spirit world. In Native American belief, birds, especially cardinals, blue jays, and eagles, are known to carry messages from ancestors. In Celtic spirituality, animals that appear repeatedly or act out of place are considered to come from thin places, where the veil between worlds softens. These traditions teach us that animals can be influenced by spiritual energy. Encounters during moments of grief are often signs of presence. Specific species can hold symbolic meaning tied to a loved one. If your grandmother adored butterflies and one lands on your hand during a moment of sorrow, it may be more than nature. It may be memory made visible. A universe that speaks symbolically, the universe does not always speak in words. It speaks in scent, in light, in feathers and wings. It speaks in patterns and presence, a language not of logic but of love. Many people expect their departed loved ones to speak clearly, but often, the soul doesn't shout. It paints, whispers, and guides through symbols that matter only to you. If you've smelled their scent, if your lights flicker when you speak their name, if an animal lingers longer than it should, maybe, just maybe, you're already in conversation. Not with the past, but with a love that found new ways to speak. It happened one rainy afternoon. I was washing dishes, mindlessly humming a song my mother used to sing. The house was quiet, just me, the rain, and the rhythm of running water. Then I heard it, clear, gentle, familiar. My name, not in my own voice, not in my head, but in her voice. Soft and musical, like she used to say it when I was little. It wasn't frightening. It was warm, like someone brushing their fingers through your hair while you're half asleep. I dropped the plate I was holding and stood still. Tears welled up, not from fear, but from comfort. from the quiet certainty that even now, she could still call me home. Sign 7. Hearing their voice. This experience, though rare in its clarity, is surprisingly common. A 2015 article by Harvard Medical School states that auditory experiences such as hearing a deceased loved one's voice, or even your name being called, are a natural part of the grief process for many people. These are not signs of mental illness. In fact, they are often associated with emotional healing, not distress. Such auditory grief phenomena typically occur during moments of stillness or deep memory, as you're falling asleep or waking up, when you are not consciously thinking about the person, and they feel external, not generated from within. Psychologists suggest that grief may create a temporary lowering of cognitive filters, allowing subtle memories and sensations to pass through into conscious awareness. But perhaps, if love is energy, this is simply another way it finds a way back to you. So if you've ever heard a whisper of your name in their voice, if it made you stop and breathe like you did when they were alive, that may not have been memory. That may have been presence. Sign 8. Number sequences. A few days later, I was driving and feeling particularly lost, emotionally more than physically. I glanced at the clock on my dashboard. 3:33. My mother's birthday was March 3rd. I parked at the grocery store. My total was $33.30. I got home and noticed that I had received 3 missed calls. I smiled, because it felt like a wink. These aren't random, not when they happen in clusters, not when they appear at the exact moment you need comfort or clarity. Dr. David Spiegelhalter, statistician at Cambridge University, has written extensively on the perception of patterns. He acknowledges that while some number sequences may be due to chance, humans are wired to recognize meaningful connections, especially when those numbers hold personal relevance. And numbers are powerful. They are markers of time. Birthdays, anniversaries. Anchors of memory, easy channels through which energy or spirit can communicate. Numerology, ancient and modern, teaches that numbers carry vibrations. If that's true, then a loved one's presence may echo through repeating digits, like ripples on the surface of your day. So if you keep seeing their birthday, or the time they passed, or the number of years you shared, maybe they're not gone. Maybe they're counting the moments with you still. Sign 9. Inner guidance. But the most profound sign of all, the one that doesn't flicker, fade, or whisper, is the one that lives inside you. It's that inexplicable clarity when you're making a difficult decision, and suddenly you know what they would have said. It's that comforting sense of presence while you're walking through something they would have helped you with. It's their humor that pops up in your mind when things get dark. Their courage, when you feel like giving up. Their voice, not heard but felt, nudging you forward. This is soul-to-soul communication, not through signs, not through dreams, but through you. Neuroscientist Dr. Mario Beauregard of the University of Montreal has published research on transcendent experiences, showing how the human brain enters non-local awareness states during moments of meditation, prayer, or grief. These states activate parts of the brain associated with intuition, empathy, and higher consciousness. He writes, in states of emotional openness, the brain can access information beyond ordinary perception, what some describe as communion. This is not imagination, it is legacy made real. It is love continuing through your choices, values, and growth. You are the message. Now. The first signs, the touch, the dreams, the feathers and numbers, are gifts. But this last one is a calling, to live in a way that embodies the one you miss, to let their wisdom echo in how you treat others, to let their laughter become part of how you heal, to let their voice merge with your own, gently guiding you from within. So when you hear them, when you see the numbers, when you suddenly just know what they would say, don't doubt it, just listen, because the soul always finds a way home. And sometimes that home is you. We've walked together through a quiet landscape, one shaped by memory, longing, and signs too soft for science but too personal to ignore. From the sensation of an invisible hand on your shoulder, to dreams that feel more like reunions than sleep, to white feathers on your doorstep, flickering lights, and a cardinal that just won't leave. To hearing their voice, seeing their birthday again and again, or simply knowing what they'd say when you need them most. All of these signs may seem small, but if you've ever stood inside one of them, you know, they are anything but small. They are echoes. They are threads between two worlds. They are love, alive, adapting, and still reaching for you. Because love doesn't vanish when the body, when it reshapes itself into dreams, into numbers, into wind. It whispers, "I'm not gone. I've just changed form." The healing truth. The most beautiful truth in grief is this: they haven't left you. They've just begun loving you in a different way. No longer from across the dinner table, but from within your instincts, your memories, your laughter. No longer holding your hand, but holding your gaze steady when you're afraid. No longer waking you up in the morning, but becoming the reason you choose to keep waking up. Each of the 9 signs we've explored is a gentle knock, not loud, never forceful, just a quiet reminder that says, "I'm still here, just differently now." And when we listen with our hearts, that reminder becomes real. You are meant to live. If you've felt any of these signs, it's not just for comfort. It's also a calling. They're not only saying, "I'm here," they're saying, "You're still here." And being here means you have a life to live, a laugh to release, a story to tell, a light to carry forward, not in place of them, but because of them. The deepest way we honor someone we've lost is by living fully in their love, not clinging to the past, but embodying what they gave us so freely, their courage, their kindness, their essence. So breathe, laugh when you feel like crying, cry when you need to, and above all, keep going, because the bond has not broken, it has evolved, and now it lives in you. A soft invitation. Let's stay connected. If even one of these signs resonated with you today, if you've ever felt seen, held, or comforted by a moment you couldn't explain, then you're not alone. You're part of a quiet, sacred community of souls who have loved deeply and continue to be loved even now. So please, like this video if it brought you comfort. Share it with someone who may need this soft reminder today. Comment below one thing you love most right now. A color, a person, a memory, just something small and beautiful. It's a way of saying, "I'm still here, I'm still listening, I still believe in love." Thank you for walking this sacred path with us. We're honored to walk it with you. Until next time, may you feel the unseen hand, hear the silent name, and know that the bond has not been broken. It's only become eternal. Love never ends. It just changes how it's delivered.